Last Thursday, 21 police dogs did something that should be impossible. They ignored their training, broke formation, surrounded a 7-year-old girl at Union Central Station and refused every command to move. The handlers couldn't pull them back. The crowd thought they were attacking her. They weren't attacking. What those dogs sensed near that child, what made them defy years of conditioning, was something invisible. Something deadly. Something no human technology detected. And when they finally discovered what it was, everything made terrifying sense. Before we dive into this incredible true story, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss stories that restore your faith in heroes with paws. And I'm genuinely curious. Where are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel across the world. Morning sunlight poured through the vaulted glass ceiling of Union Central Station, painting golden rectangles across the polished marble floor. The air hummed with the familiar symphony of transit, rolling suitcases clicking over tile, the hiss of espresso machines, train whistles echoing from distant platforms, and the low murmur of 1,000 conversations blending into white noise. It was 8:47 a.m. on a Thursday in late September, and for the third largest train station in America, this was as ordinary as breathing. Officer Liam Garrett adjusted the tactical vest across his chest as he led his K9 unit through the main concourse. 21 German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois moved in perfect formation beside their handlers, their paws hitting the ground in synchronized rhythm. Discipline, focus, control. These weren't pets, they were the elite rail security unit, trained for high-threat operations and federal transport protection. Liam had been leading this team for 8 years. He knew every dog by name, by temperament, by the way they tilted their heads when they picked up a scent. But his lead dog, a 5-year-old German Shepherd named Rex, was special. The other handlers called him the Ghost because he could sense things before they happened. Threats that hadn't materialized yet, dangers that existed only as possibilities in the air. Liam just called him his best friend. Unit 7, status check, his radio crackled. Liam pressed the button on his shoulder mic. Concourse sweep complete. Moving to platforms 5 through 12. ETA 3 minutes. Copy. Federal transport inbound at 0915. Keep formation tight. Roger that. Passengers paused to watch the unit pass. A little boy pointed excitedly, tugging his mother's sleeve. An elderly woman smiled and nodded approvingly. A businessman lowered his phone long enough to snap a photo. Liam was used to it. People loved seeing the dogs, symbols of safety in an increasingly uncertain world. But as they approached the waiting area near Track 9, something shifted. Rex's ears rotated forward, locking onto something ahead. His stride didn't break, but his muscles tensed beneath his coat. Liam felt it through the lead, that subtle change in energy that meant his partner had detected something worth investigating. "Easy, Rex," Liam murmured, scanning the crowd. Nothing unusual. Just commuters waiting for their trains. A janitor emptied a trash can near the restrooms. A food vendor arranged croissants in a display case. A street musician packed up his saxophone, the morning rush tapering off. Then Liam saw her. A little girl, no older than 7, stood perfectly still beside a chrome luggage cart near the benches. She wore a faded pink hoodie, jeans with grass stains on the knees, and sneakers that had seen better days. Her blonde hair hung in tangled waves around her face, and clutched against her chest was a white stuffed bunny. Worn, loved, with one button eye missing. She wasn't crying. Wasn't calling for help. Wasn't looking around frantically the way lost children usually did. She was just standing there, staring straight ahead with wide blue eyes that seemed too calm, too distant, as if she were looking at something no one else could see. Liam's instincts prickled. He'd worked enough missing child cases to know when something felt wrong. This felt wrong. "Jackson," he called to one of his officers. "You see that kid? Near the luggage cart." Officer Ben Jackson followed his gaze. "Yeah. Been there about 15 minutes. No parent in sight. We were about to approach when you rolled up." 15 minutes. In a station with over 50,000 daily passengers, a child had been standing alone for 15 minutes and no one had claimed her. Rex suddenly stopped walking. His entire body went rigid, nose lifted, sampling the air in rapid, shallow breaths. One by one, the other dogs began to mirror him. Ears forward, muscles coiled, attention laser-focused on the little girl. "What V you got, boy?" Liam asked quietly, but Rex didn't respond. His gaze never wavered from the child. The other handlers noticed. Officer Chin pulled her Malinois back slightly. Officer Rodriguez frowned, glancing between his dog and Liam. The animal's collective behavior was setting off alarm bells in everyone's heads. Dogs didn't react like this to lost children. They reacted like this to threats. Liam kept his voice calm, his movements slow and deliberate as he approached the girl. He stopped about 6 feet away and crouched down to her eye level, making himself less intimidating. "Hey there, sweetheart. My name's Officer Garrett. Are you waiting for someone?" The girl didn't answer. She hugged the bunny tighter, her small knuckles turning white against the worn fabric. "Can you tell me your name?" Still nothing. Just those wide, unblinking blue eyes staring straight ahead. Liam tried again, his tone gentle. "It's okay. You're not in trouble. I just want to make sure you're safe. Where's your mom or dad?" At the word dad, something flickered in her expression, a brief tremor of emotion that passed too quickly to identify. Fear, sadness, recognition. Behind him, Rex let out a low growl. Not aggressive. Warning. Liam glanced back. Rex, heel. The command went ignored. Rex took a step forward, his body language shifting from alert to protective. The other dogs began to shift restlessly, their collective energy building like static electricity before a storm. Passengers were starting to notice. Whispers spread through the waiting area. Phones came out. A woman grabbed her child's hand and pulled him back. "Officer Garrett." Jackson's voice carried an edge of concern. "I see it," Liam replied, still focused on the girl. "Sweetheart, I need you to talk to me. Are you hurt? Are you scared?" The girl's lips parted slightly. Her voice, when it finally came, was barely above a whisper. "Daddy said, if something happens, don't talk to strangers." "That's good advice," Liam said softly. "But I'm a police officer. See my badge? I'm here to help you. Your daddy would want me to make sure you're safe." "Daddy said." Her voice cracked. "Daddy said wait here. Don't move. Don't talk to anyone until help comes." "Help is here now," Liam assured her. "We're going to." Rex's growl exploded into a sharp, commanding bark that echoed through the vaulted ceiling like a gunshot. And then everything happened at once. All 21 dogs surged forward in perfect, terrifying synchronization. Leashes jerked taut. Handlers shouted commands that went completely ignored. The animals moved as one living organism, circling the little girl in a tight protective formation, their bodies creating a wall between her and the rest of the world. Screams erupted. Luggage toppled. Coffee cups shattered against marble. The crowd scattered in every direction, a human wave of panic rolling outward from Track 9. "Hold positions!" Liam shouted, but his own team couldn't hold their dogs. Years of discipline, thousands of hours of training. All of it meant nothing. The dogs had made a decision, and nothing was going to change their minds. The little girl stumbled backward, her sneakers squeaking against the floor. "Please, please don't let them hurt me." "They're not going to hurt you." Liam called over the chaos, but his words were drowned out by the thunder of barking that filled the station like an avalanche of sound. Rex stood directly in front of the girl, hackles raised, teeth bared. Not at her, but at everything beyond the circle. The other dogs mirrored him, facing outward, their bodies tense and ready. They weren't attacking. They were shielding. Liam's radio exploded with frantic voices. "Unit 7, what's your status?" "We have a situation at Track 9. Dogs have broken formation." "All units respond to Track 9. Possible threat." "Evacuate the concourse. Repeat, evacuate the concourse." Alarms began to blare. Red emergency lights flashed from the ceiling. Security teams in tactical gear came running from 3 different directions, weapons drawn, faces tense. And in the center of it all, surrounded by 21 snarling dogs, stood a 7-year-old girl with tangled blonde hair and a stuffed bunny, whispering words that would haunt Liam for the rest of his life. "They're not mad at me. They're trying to save me." Liam's blood went cold, because Rex was now staring at something specific. Not the girl. Not the crowd. The bunny. His partner's entire focus had narrowed to the worn white stuffed animal clutched in the child's trembling arms, and the growl emanating from his chest was the kind of sound Liam had only heard twice before in his career. Both times right before explosives were found. "Everyone back," Liam commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos with the authority of 8 years leading high-threat operations. "Clear the area now." But before anyone could move, the little girl's face crumpled. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she looked at the circle of dogs surrounding her, protecting her, refusing to let anyone close. "I didn't do anything wrong," she sobbed. "I promise. Daddy told me to be brave. He told me help would come. He said only the dogs would know first." The words hit Liam like a physical blow. Only the dogs would know first. His gaze snapped back to the bunny, and for the first time, he noticed something strange. The seam along the toy's back was uneven, the stitching newer than the rest, done hastily with thread that didn't quite match. Something was inside that bunny. And whatever it was, 21 trained canines had sensed it before any human technology, before any scanner, before anyone in this entire station had any idea that danger was standing right in front of them, hidden in the arms of a terrified little girl who didn't even know she was carrying it. Rex barked again, urgent, insistent, desperate. And Liam finally understood. They weren't just protecting the girl. They were protecting everyone. The chaos rippled outward like shockwaves from an epicenter. Security officers in tactical vests formed a perimeter around Track 9, their hands hovering near holstered weapons as they tried to make sense of what they were seeing. Passengers pressed against the far walls of the concourse, some still screaming, others filming everything on their phones with shaking hands. Liam's earpiece crackled with overlapping voices. Dispatch, bomb squad, station security, federal agents, all demanding answers he didn't have yet. Unit 7, we need confirmation on threat type. Is the child armed? Repeat, is the child? Bomb squad ETA 4 minutes. Hold positions and await. Liam ripped the earpiece out. He needed to think. Needed to focus. But Rex wasn't giving him space to do either. Every time Liam tried to step closer to the girl, his own dog moved between them, blocking his path with a body that might as well have been made of concrete. "Rex, stand down," Liam commanded, his voice firm but not angry. "I need to get to her." Rex didn't budge. His amber eyes met Liam's with an intensity that was almost human. Pleading, desperate, as if trying to communicate something language couldn't convey. "Trust me. Don't get closer." Not yet. Around them, the other dogs maintained their protective circle, their barking reduced now to low, continuous growls. They'd stopped facing outward. Now they were all staring at the same thing Liam had noticed. The bunny. Officer Jackson appeared at Liam's shoulder, his face pale. "What do? We can't get near her with the dogs like this." "We wait," Liam said quietly. "They're telling us something. We just need to figure out what." Inside the circle, the little girl had sunk to her knees, still clutching the stuffed animal. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs, tears streaming down her face and disappearing into the bunny's matted white fur. Liam lowered himself to the ground, sitting cross-legged on the cold marble about 8 feet from the perimeter of dogs. He kept his movements slow, non-threatening. If he couldn't get physically closer, maybe he could bridge the distance another way. "Hey," he called softly. "Can you hear me?" The girl's crying quieted slightly. She didn't look up, but her head tilted just enough that he knew she was listening. "My name is Liam. The dog right here, the big one blocking my way, his name is Rex. He's my best friend. And I promise you, he would never hurt a kid. None of these dogs would." Still no response. But she'd stopped shaking quite so violently. "I know you're scared," Liam continued. "And I know your daddy told you not to talk to strangers. That's good advice. But sweetheart, I need you to understand something. These dogs? They're trying to help you. They sense something near you that might be dangerous. We need to figure out what that is so we can keep you safe. The girl's fingers loosened slightly on the bunny. Her voice came out barely louder than a breath. I didn't do anything bad. I believe you, Liam said immediately. Nobody thinks you did anything wrong. But I need to know your name. Can you tell me that? Just your first name. A long pause. Then, so quietly he almost missed it. Chloe. Chloe. That's a beautiful name. Liam shifted slightly, keeping his posture open and relaxed despite the adrenaline surging through his system. Chloe, where are your parents? Where's your daddy? Her face crumpled again, fresh tears spilling over. I don't know. He left 3 weeks ago. Said he had to go away for a little while. Said he had to keep me safe. He gave me Mr. Buttons. She held up the bunny slightly. And told me that if anything happened, if anyone came looking for me, I should come here. To this station. To track 9. And wait. Liam's chest tightened. 3 weeks. A father disappears, leaves his young daughter with cryptic instructions and a stuffed animal. Tells her to wait at a specific location if anyone comes looking. This wasn't a lost child situation. This was something else entirely. Chloe, did your daddy tell you why? Did he say what you were waiting for? She shook her head, her tangled blonde hair falling across her face. Just that help would come. That I'd know when it was real help because what, sweetheart? Her blue eyes finally lifted to meet his, wide and frightened and far too knowing for a 7-year-old. Because only the dogs would know first. A chill ran down Liam's spine. Those words again. As if her father had known, somehow, impossibly, that trained canines would react to whatever was hidden in that toy before any human, any machine, any protocol could detect it. Behind the police line, Liam caught movement in his peripheral vision. A woman in her early 20s had her phone raised high, the camera lens pointed directly at the scene. Her lips were moving rapidly, narrating, streaming, broadcasting this moment to God knows how many viewers. Ma'am, lower your device. An officer shouted, but the woman ignored him, sidestepping to get a better angle. Within seconds, others followed suit. Phones emerged from pockets and purses. The red recording lights multiplied like eyes in the darkness. This was going viral. Right now. In real time. Liam's radio, still clipped to his vest even though he'd removed the earpiece, crackled with a new voice. Garrett, this is Commander Morrison. Social media is exploding. We've got live streams with over 50,000 viewers and climbing. Every major news outlet is sending crews. We need to contain this situation now. Liam pressed the button without taking his eyes off Chloe. Copy that. But sir, we can't contain what we don't understand. This girl's father left her here deliberately. Told her help would come. Told her the dogs would know first. Whatever's in that toy triggered every K9 unit we have. We need bomb squad and cyber forensics. Bomb squad is 30 seconds out. Do not approach the child until... A sound cut through the tension like a knife. Beep. Faint. Electronic. Barely audible beneath the ambient noise of the station. But every dog heard it. Rex's head snapped toward the bunny, his ears pinned back. The other dogs surged forward in unison, their protective circle collapsing inward. Not attacking Chloe, but crowding closer to her, their focus now entirely on the stuffed animal in her arms. The beeping came again. Slightly louder this time. Rhythmic. Beep, beep, beep. Chloe looked down at Mr. Buttons, confusion crossing her tear-stained face. What's... Don't move. Liam shouted, lurching to his feet. Chloe, listen to me very carefully. Hold that bunny very still. Don't squeeze it. Don't drop it. Just hold it steady, okay? Her eyes went wide with terror, but she obeyed, her small hands freezing around the toy. The dogs went absolutely berserk. 21 voices rose in a cacophony of barking that shook the glass ceiling. They leaped toward the bunny, Not to attack, but to intercept, to grab it, to pull it away from the child. Handlers yanked on leashes with all their strength, boots skidding across marble as they struggled to hold back animals that had gone from disciplined soldiers to frantic protectors in the span of a heartbeat. Rex broke free. Liam watched in horror as his partner's leash slipped through Jackson's grip. The German Shepherd lunged forward, jaws open, aiming not for Chloe but for the bunny clutched in her arms. Rex, no. But Rex wasn't listening. He never stopped listening. Which meant whatever was inside that toy, whatever was beeping with increasing frequency, was dangerous enough that Rex was willing to disobey the person he trusted most in the world. The bunny's worn fabric began to pulse with a faint blue light, glowing from somewhere deep inside the stuffing. And that's when Liam understood with perfect crystalline clarity. They weren't dealing with a bomb. They were dealing with something that was transmitting. Rex's jaws closed around the bunny's ear just as Liam tackled him from the side. They hit the marble floor hard, Liam's arms wrapping around 70 pounds of determined German Shepherd while Chloe screamed and scrambled backward, still clutching the glowing toy against her chest. Someone get her back. Liam grunted, struggling to hold Rex as the dog twisted and fought with a strength born of pure instinct. 2 officers in tactical gear rushed forward, forming a human shield between the girl and the dogs while a third gently but firmly pulled Chloe away from the circle. She kicked and thrashed, her small voice rising to a desperate shriek. No, don't take Mr. Buttons. Please. It's all I have left. We're not taking him, sweetheart, the officer said, but his words were drowned out by the approaching thunder of boots on marble. The bomb squad arrived like a small army. 6 technicians in full protective gear, carrying cases of equipment that looked like something out of a science fiction film. Their leader, a broad-shouldered man with gray stubble visible beneath his face shield, took one look at the scene and immediately began barking orders. Clear a 50-foot perimeter. Get those civilians back behind the security line. I want every electronic device within visual range shut down. No phones, no cameras, nothing that could trigger a remote detonation. Sir, Liam called out, finally getting Rex under control and clipping a secondary lead to his collar. I don't think it's a bomb. The dogs aren't reacting to explosives. They're reacting to. I'll determine what they're reacting to, officer. The squad leader's voice carried the weight of someone who'd seen too many things go wrong to take chances. He nodded to 2 of his technicians. Get the portable scanner. Full spectrum sweep. While the bomb squad set up their equipment, Liam managed to get Rex back behind the perimeter line, though the dog remained rigid and alert, his eyes never leaving the bunny. Around them, the other canines had finally been restrained, but they were all doing the same thing. Staring, growling low in their throats, bodies coiled like springs ready to release. Chloe sat on a bench 20 feet away, flanked by 2 female officers who were trying unsuccessfully to calm her down. She rocked back and forth, arms wrapped around herself, tears streaming down her face as she watched the technicians approach Mr. Buttons with their instruments. That's my daddy's, she kept repeating. He gave it to me. It's mine. It's all I have. One of the bomb squad technicians, a younger woman with kind eyes visible through her face shield, carefully picked up the stuffed animal using padded tongs. She placed it on a portable examination table that had been set up in the middle of the concourse, then began running a handheld scanner over its surface. The device emitted a series of beeps and clicks as it worked, its small screen displaying readouts that Liam couldn't decipher from his position. The technician's eyebrows rose. She adjusted the scanner settings and ran it over the bunny again. Lieutenant Hayes, she called to the squad leader. You need to see this. Hayes moved to her side, studying the scanner's display. His expression shifted from cautious concern to outright confusion. That's not possible. I'm reading it too, sir. No explosive compounds. No chemical signatures. But there's definitely something electronic inside, and it's active. What kind of electronic? That's the strange part. The signal encryption is, sir, this reads as military grade, possibly government-level security protocols. A ripple of tension moved through the assembled officers. Military-grade encryption in a child's stuffed animal. A father who disappeared 3 weeks ago after telling his daughter that help would come, that the dogs would know first. This wasn't making sense. Or rather, it was starting to make a very disturbing kind of sense. Hayes pulled out a different tool, something that looked like a small tablet with various probes attached. I'm going to open it. Martinez, get the portable Faraday cage ready in case we need to contain the signal. Wait. Chloe's voice cut through the activity, high and desperate. She tried to stand, but the officers gently held her back. Please don't cut him open. My daddy sewed him up special. He said I had to keep him safe. He made me promise. Liam moved closer to the bench, crouching down to Chloe's eye level. Rex came with him, no longer straining against the leash but still intensely focused on the bunny. Chloe, Liam said gently, I know Mr. Buttons is important to you, but there's something inside him that's sending out signals. Something that made all these dogs react. We need to know what it is to keep you safe. Your daddy would want that, wouldn't he? She nodded miserably, wiping her nose on her sleeve. Daddy always said, safety first. That's right. So I need you to tell me everything you remember about when your daddy gave you Mr. Buttons. Did he say anything else? Do anything unusual? Chloe's brow furrowed in concentration. He came home really late one night. 3 weeks ago. He looked scared. I'd never seen him scared before. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He woke me up and said we had to talk. He showed me Mr. Buttons. I used to have him when I was little, but he'd been in the attic for years. Daddy said he fixed him up, made him special, and that I had to keep him with me always. Every single day. Did he say why? He said. She struggled to remember, her small face scrunching up with effort. He said bad people were looking for something, and that if they found it, a lot of people would get hurt. He said he was going to make sure that didn't happen, but just in case, I needed to have Mr. Buttons. And if anyone came asking questions, anyone except the police and the dogs, I should come here. To track 9. And wait. Liam's mind raced. Bad people looking for something. A father who works with sensitive technology. He had to, based on the military-grade encryption, who discovers a threat and hides. What? Evidence. Data. Whatever it was, he'd hidden it inside his daughter's childhood toy and sent her to a specific location as a failsafe. Chloe, what does your daddy do for work? He's a computer engineer. He works for the government. Something about train systems and... She frowned. I don't remember the word. Infrastructure. Train systems. Infrastructure. Military-grade encryption. Oh God. Lieutenant Hayes, Liam called out urgently. I think whatever's in that toy might be related to the rail network. The father's a government engineer specializing in train infrastructure. Hayes's head snapped up, his expression grim. He immediately pulled out his radio. This is Bomb Squad 1 to command. We may have a cybersecurity situation. I need DOT, Homeland Security, and the FBI's cyber division on site immediately. And shut down all inbound trains to the station until we know what we're dealing with. At the examination table, the technician had carefully opened a seam along the bunny's back, the same seam Liam had noticed earlier, the one with the mismatched thread. Using precise instruments, she extracted something small from the stuffing. It looked like a tiny circuit board, no bigger than a quarter, wrapped in waterproof film and still pulsing with that eerie blue light. It's a transmitter, she confirmed, her voice tight. Active transmission. But it's not broadcasting outward, it's receiving. Someone's trying to ping this device's location. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Someone was tracking Chloe. Right now. Through the device her father had hidden in her toy. Which meant her father hadn't been trying to hide evidence from bad people. He'd been trying to hide his daughter. Before Liam could process that realization, Rex suddenly went rigid beside him. The dog's head swiveled toward the platforms. His ears pricked forward. One by one, the other canines did the same thing, all of them turning in perfect unison to face tracks 5, 6, and 7. A low, collective growl began to build, a sound that made every hair on Liam's body stand on end. What is it? Jackson asked, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. What do they hear? Liam didn't know. But whatever it was, 21 dogs had detected it before any human had a clue. Then the lights flickered. Not just the overhead lights, the display boards, the ticket machines, the electronic signs showing departure times. Everything stuttered, dimmed, then came back at half brightness. Liam's radio erupted with static, then a panicked voice broke through. All units, we have signal interference near tracks 5 through 7. Source unknown. Repeat, unknown electronic interference affecting all systems in the southern platform section. The transmission cut off, replaced by dead air. And in that sudden, terrible silence, Chloe's small voice rang out with the clarity of a bell. They found me. The station's emergency lockdown system activated with a mechanical groan that echoed through the vaulted space. Steel security gates began descending over entrances and exits, their grinding descent accompanied by automated warnings blaring from speakers. Emergency lockdown initiated. All passengers remain calm and follow officer instructions. But there was no calm. Only controlled chaos as security personnel herded hundreds of confused and frightened travelers toward designated safe zones while tactical teams took positions at every access point. Liam's mind raced through tactical protocols even as his instincts screamed that they were already several steps behind whatever was happening. Jackson, get Chloe to the security office. Interior room, no windows. Post 2 armed officers at the door. On it. Jackson moved toward the bench where Chloe sat, but before he could reach her, a commotion erupted near the north entrance. Let me through. That's my niece. Chloe. A woman in her late 20s broke through the security perimeter, shoving past officers who tried to restrain her. She wore scrubs under a winter coat, a nurse, Liam's brain registered, and her face was streaked with tears and raw panic. Her dark hair had come loose from its ponytail, and she clutched her phone in one white-knuckled hand. Ma'am, you need to step back. That's my niece. The woman's voice cracked as she pointed at Chloe. Chloe Bennett. I've been looking everywhere for her. She was supposed to be at school. I got a call that she never arrived. Chloe's head shot up. Aunt Rachel. The girl launched herself off the bench and ran, and despite every protocol screaming at him to maintain separation of potential witnesses, Liam didn't stop her. The reunion was too genuine, too raw. The woman, Rachel, dropped to her knees and caught Chloe in her arms, both of them sobbing. Oh my God, you're okay, Rachel gasped, running her hands over Chloe's face, her arms, checking for injuries. When the school called when you weren't there, Chloe, what happened? Why did you come here? Daddy said. Chloe whispered against her aunt's shoulder. Daddy said if the bad people came, I should come to track 9. Rachel's face went pale. Her eyes lifted to meet Liam's, and he saw in them a terrible understanding. The look of someone who'd been dreading this moment but hoping it would never come. Liam approached carefully, keeping his voice low. Ma'am, I'm Officer Garrett. Are you Chloe's legal guardian? Yes. Since Thomas disappeared 3 weeks ago. Rachel's arms tightened around Chloe protectively. He left her with me. Said it was temporary, that he had to go away for work, but I knew he was lying. Thomas is a terrible liar. Her voice broke. He was scared. I've never seen him scared like that. What does your brother do? He's a cybersecurity engineer for the Department of Transportation, Rail Infrastructure Division. He designed security protocols for the national train network, encryption, threat detection, data protection. Rachel wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, trying to compose herself. About a month ago, he started acting strange, paranoid. He'd come to my apartment at odd hours, check over his shoulder constantly. He wouldn't tell me what was wrong, just kept saying he'd found something he wasn't supposed to find. Liam's chest tightened. Did he say what? Rachel shook her head. Only that people were compromising the rail system, planting backdoors in the security infrastructure. He said if the wrong people got control, they could cause accidents, reroute trains, access sensitive cargo manifests. She paused, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. He said they could kill thousands of people and make it look like technical failures. The pieces were falling into place now, forming a picture that made Liam's blood run cold. Thomas Bennett had discovered a conspiracy to compromise the National Rail Network. He'd gathered evidence, hidden it in his daughter's toy, and disappeared, presumably to draw attention away from Chloe while he tried to expose what he'd found. But someone had figured out where the evidence was. And now they were here. "Ma'am, your brother gave Chloe specific instructions. He told her the dogs would know first. Do you know what he meant by that?" Rachel's eyes filled with fresh tears. Thomas is brilliant with technology, but he doesn't trust it. He always said humans miss things because they rely too much on machines. But dogs. She looked at Rex, who stood alert beside Liam. Dogs sense what technology can't detect. Heat signatures, electronic frequencies, chemical changes in the air. Thomas used to joke that if the world ended, he'd trust a K9 unit over any computer system. Before Liam could respond, Rex's head suddenly jerked upward, his gaze locking onto something above them. His growl started low and built rapidly, joined within seconds by the other 20 dogs all staring at the same point. The ceiling ducts. Liam's hand moved to his weapon as he followed their gaze. The ventilation system's metal grates ran the length of the concourse, wide enough for a person to crawl through, with access points hidden behind maintenance panels throughout the station. "Hayes," Liam called to the bomb squad leader. "We need eyes in those ducts. Now." Already on it. Hayes was barking orders into his radio. "Maintenance. I need building schematics showing all ventilation access points. And get me thermal imaging." Rex's bark exploded with urgent intensity. He lunged forward, straining against his leash, his attention now fixed on a specific section of ductwork above track 6. The other dogs went berserk, their collective barking creating a wall of sound that drowned out everything else. They weren't just alerting anymore. They were warning of imminent threat. "Everyone down!" Liam shouted, but his words were lost in the chaos. Then he saw it. A tiny red dot appeared on Officer Martinez's tactical vest, dancing across the black fabric like a deadly firefly. Laser sight. Sniper. Time seemed to slow. Liam's mouth opened to scream a warning, but Rex was already moving. The German Shepherd launched himself at Martinez with the full force of his body, 70 pounds of muscle and bone hitting the officer square in the chest. They went down together just as the world exploded. The gunshot cracked through the station like thunder, and one of the massive glass windows overlooking the platforms shattered into a million glittering pieces. Screams erupted. People hit the floor. Glass rained down in a deadly shower, tinkling against marble like wind chimes in hell. "Active shooter!" someone screamed, and the station descended into absolute pandemonium. Tactical teams moved with practiced precision, forming protective barriers around civilians while scanning for the shooter's position. Liam covered Chloe and Rachel with his own body, pressing them flat against the cold floor as more glass rained down around them. "Stay down. Don't move." Another shot rang out, this one punching a hole through a departure board. Sparks flew. The electronic display went dark. "Shooter in the ductwork." Hayes's voice carried over the chaos. "Southwest quadrant, above track 6. Rex had saved Martinez's life. The officer was shaken but uninjured, the bullet meant for him having passed through empty air where his chest had been a split second before. Now the dog was circling back to Liam, his training warring with his instinct to protect. A third shot pinged off a metal support beam inches from Liam's head. He felt the heat of it pass, smelled the acrid burn of hot metal. They were pinned down, exposed, and whoever was up in those ducts had a clear line of sight to everyone in the concourse. "We need to move," Liam shouted to Jackson. "Get them to cover, behind the ticket counter. Go, go, go." They scrambled across the open floor, a desperate sprint that felt like miles even though it was barely 30 feet. Another shot. Another window exploding. The shooter was tracking them, trying to cut off their escape route. But the dogs had other plans. As one, the K9 unit surged forward, their handlers barely managing to keep hold of their leads. They positioned themselves between the shooter's line of fire and the fleeing officers, creating a living wall of fur and loyalty and courage that no bullet could penetrate without going through them first. The shooter didn't take the shot. Maybe couldn't stomach killing a dog on camera, because phones were still recording, still streaming this nightmare to the world in real time. Liam reached the ticket counter and pulled Chloe and Rachel behind its solid marble barrier just as the station's backup generator kicked in, plunging half the concourse into darkness broken only by emergency lighting that painted everything in shades of red. In the crimson dimness, Chloe's small voice trembled against his chest. Daddy said they'd come. He said they wouldn't stop until they got what he hid. Rachel held her niece tighter, her own voice shaking. What did he hide, baby? What's on that transmitter? Chloe's answer was barely audible over the continued chaos, but Liam heard it clearly enough to feel ice form in his veins. The proof. Daddy said it's proof of everything they did. Names and dates and access codes. He said if anything happened to him, the dogs would protect me until someone could get the proof to the right people. Another shot rang out, closer this time, and Liam realized with mounting horror that the shooter wasn't trying to kill them. They were hurting them, driving them toward something, or away from something. His radio crackled with static, then Commander Morrison's urgent voice cut through. All units be advised, we have movement in the maintenance tunnels beneath the station. Multiple heat signatures. Unknown number of hostiles converging on your position from below. Liam's blood went cold. They weren't facing one shooter. They were facing a coordinated team. And Union Central Station, with its hundreds of civilians and its single point of evidence that could expose a national conspiracy, had just become a war zone. The emergency evacuation transformed Union Central Station into a scene from a disaster film. Security personnel moved through the crowds with trained efficiency, directing hundreds of terrified passengers toward the north exits, the only ones still accessible with the lockdown partially lifted to allow escape routes. People streamed out in waves, abandoning luggage, clutching children, some still filming on their phones even as officers shouted at them to move faster. But Liam's focus had narrowed to a single objective: protect Chloe Bennett and the evidence hidden in her stuffed bunny until backup could secure the station and extract them safely. K-9 units, track that shooter. Commander Morrison's voice barked through the radio. I want to know every route in and out of those ducts. Tactical teams, establish a secure perimeter around the ticket counter. Nobody gets through. Rex didn't need the command. He was already moving, nose to the ground, tracking a scent trail that only he could detect. The other dogs fanned out in coordinated patterns, their training overriding the chaos around them as they worked the problem like the professionals they were. 3 of the Malinois suddenly converged on a maintenance access panel near Track 7, their barking reaching a fever pitch. Officer Rodriguez pulled open the panel to reveal a service ladder disappearing up into darkness. Got a trail, he shouted. Ladder access to the ventilation system. Hayes immediately directed 2 of his technicians toward the opening. I want cameras up there. Full sweep of the duct system. And get me building security footage. Every camera angle covering those access points for the last 2 hours. While tactical teams secured the ladder access, Liam stayed with Chloe and Rachel behind the ticket counter, Rex pressed against his leg and vibrating with barely contained energy. The dog kept glancing between the ceiling ducts and the floor, as if tracking threats on multiple levels simultaneously. Officer Garrett, a young security tech, came running, tablet in hand, his face pale. You need to see this. Liam took the tablet. The screen showed a grid of security camera feeds, and on 2 of them, grainy figures in dark clothing could be seen climbing service ladders in different parts of the station. Their faces were covered with balaclavas, their movements practiced and efficient. They've been in the system for at least 40 minutes, the tech explained, swiping to show earlier timestamps. They knew exactly where the cameras were, stayed in blind spots most of the time. We only caught them when they had to cross open corridors to reach the ladder access points. How many? Liam demanded. At least 4 confirmed. But sir. The tech's voice dropped. These timestamps show they entered the station before the K-9 unit even arrived. They were already in position, waiting. The implications hit Liam like a physical blow. This wasn't a reactive operation. It was planned, coordinated. They'd known Chloe would come here, known when, known exactly where Track 9 was and how to position themselves for maximum advantage. which meant they'd been monitoring the transmitter in Mr. Button's, waiting for it to activate, waiting for Chloe to follow her father's instructions. They'd turned Thomas Bennett's failsafe into a trap. "Commander Morrison," Liam spoke urgently into his radio. "This is a planned operation. They've been here for close to an hour. We need to assume they have multiple extraction routes planned and—" Garrett shut it down. Morrison's voice was tight. "Bomb squad just found something under the tracks. Hayes is calling it in now." Liam's stomach dropped. He looked at Chloe, who was curled against Rachel's side, still clutching Mr. Button's despite the torn seam where the transmitter had been removed. The little girl's face was streaked with tears and dirt, her eyes too wide, too aware of the danger swirling around her. Lieutenant Hayes's voice came through on the open channel, and every officer in the station went silent to listen. "Command, this is Hayes. We've located a device attached to the underside of Track 6, approximately 20 feet from the platform edge. It's not a conventional explosive. Repeat, not an explosive device. It's electronic. Sophisticated. I'm reading data cables connected directly into the track signal infrastructure." A pause. "Then, I need the cybercrimes unit here immediately. This is way outside bomb squad expertise." Within minutes, a new team arrived. 3 specialists in plain clothes with Department of Homeland Security credentials, carrying cases of equipment that looked like it belonged in a spy thriller. They moved quickly to the tracks, and Liam watched on the security tablet as they examined Hayes's discovery. Chloe's small voice broke through his concentration. Daddy said bad men want to hear trains talk." Liam turned to her. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" She was staring at Mr. Button's, her fingers tracing the torn seam. "He told me that trains talk to each other. Through computers and signals. He said his job was to make sure only the right people could hear what the trains were saying. But the bad men—" Her voice cracked. "The bad men wanted to hear too, so they could make the trains do bad things." Rachel's hand covered her mouth, her eyes filling with horror as she understood before Liam did. One of the cyber specialists' voices came through the radio, confirming Chloe's childlike explanation with technical precision that made it exponentially more terrifying. "Command, we have a rail system data siphon. Military-grade hardware tapped directly into the signal network. It's been here for—" A pause as equipment beeped in the background. "Jesus. At least 3 weeks. Maybe longer. This thing has been intercepting every piece of data running through this station's control systems. Train schedules, routing commands, security protocols, maintenance alerts. Everything." Morrison's response was barely controlled. "Are you telling me someone has had access to our entire rail network's operational data for 3 weeks?" "Not just access, sir. This device is sophisticated enough to not just monitor but inject false data. They could reroute trains, override safety systems, cause collisions, trigger derailments, all while making it look like technical failures or human error. And based on the transmission logs, this data has been feeding to an external server somewhere outside the country." The station fell into stunned silence. Every officer present understood the implications. The national rail system carried millions of passengers every day, transported critical cargo, connected the country's infrastructure. If someone could compromise that system, could manipulate it remotely, the potential death toll was unthinkable. "Thomas Bennett found this," Liam said quietly, the pieces finally assembling into a complete picture. "He discovered the siphon, documented the breach, and hid the evidence in his daughter's toy before they could silence him. The transmitter in Mr. Button's isn't just evidence. It's a beacon. He was counting on someone tracking it, on Chloe following his instructions to come here, on the K9 unit detecting the active signal before anyone else." Rachel was crying silently now, her hand over her heart. He led them to the crime scene. He made Chloe the bait to force them to expose themselves. "And it worked," Liam said grimly. "But now they're trying to clean up loose ends. The siphon, the evidence, and—" He didn't finish the sentence, but everyone understood. The biggest loose end was sitting right in front of them, clutching a torn stuffed bunny and crying for her missing father. "We need immediate extraction," Liam said into his radio. federal protection for the Bennett family, and static exploded across all radio channels simultaneously. Every officer grabbed their earpieces, wincing at the feedback screech. Then, cutting through the noise, a voice, distorted, mechanical, clearly run through some kind of encryption software. Officers of Union Central Station. You have something that belongs to us. Return the girl and the device, and civilian casualties will be minimized. Refuse, and we will be forced to demonstrate exactly how much control we have over this facility's systems. The lights flickered. The departure boards went dark. Even the emergency lighting dimmed for 3 long seconds before returning. A demonstration of power. A threat made real. The voice continued, cold and emotionless. You have 10 minutes to comply. Retrieve the girl. She knows the carrier protocol. We need both her and the evidence her father stole. 10 minutes. Starting now. The radio went dead, leaving only the sound of hundreds of heartbeats pounding in the sudden silence. Chloe's whisper seemed to echo in the vastness of the station. What's the carrier protocol? Rachel's face had gone white as paper. Oh God, Thomas, what did you do? What is it? Liam demanded. What's the carrier protocol? Rachel's voice shook as she answered, her arms tightening around Chloe protectively. Thomas used to joke about it. Said if he ever needed to hide something from the most sophisticated surveillance in the world, he wouldn't use encryption or passwords. He'd use something older. Something analog. She looked down at her niece, and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. He'd use memory. Human memory. A child's memory. The implications crashed over Liam like a wave. Thomas Bennett hadn't just hidden evidence in the stuffed bunny. He'd hidden it in his daughter. The 10-minute countdown had barely started when Rex's head snapped toward the floor, his ears pinned flat against his skull. A low growl rumbled from deep in his chest. Not the warning bark he'd used before, but something more primal. More dangerous. They're coming up through the tunnels, Liam said, the realization hitting him like ice water. The maintenance access below the platforms. That's why they gave us 10 minutes, to keep us focused on the clock while they move into position underneath us. Commander Morrison's voice crackled through the radio. All units, converge on subsurface access points. K-9 teams, you're authorized to track and engage. Civilian protection is priority 1. Rachel, stay behind this counter, Liam ordered, already moving. Don't come out until I give the all clear. Jackson Rodriguez, you're on protection detail. Nobody gets near them. Sir, where are you going? Jackson asked, but Liam was already running, Rex at his side and 5 more K-9 units falling in behind him. The dogs knew. They always knew. They led him toward a service corridor behind Track 5, their noses working furiously, tracking scents that human technology couldn't detect. The corridor was dimly lit by emergency lighting, all shadows and echoing footsteps. A metal door marked Maintenance Access. Authorized personnel only stood at the end, and Rex hit it at full speed, scratching at the base and barking with urgent intensity. Liam pulled it open to reveal a narrow stairwell descending into darkness. The smell hit him immediately. Damp concrete, old grease, and something else. Something chemical and foreign. Tactical team, I have probable hostile access point at Track 5 service corridor, he radioed. Pursuing into subsurface tunnels. Garrett, wait for backup. But Rex was already plunging down the stairs, and Liam's instincts told him waiting would cost them the advantage. These people had been planning this operation for weeks. They knew the station's layout better than he did. Every second of hesitation gave them more time to position, to execute whatever contingency plan they'd prepared. He descended into the tunnels. The maintenance corridors beneath Union Central were a labyrinth of concrete passages lined with pipes, electrical conduits, and ancient infrastructure from when the station was first built a century ago. Emergency lights cast pools of sickly yellow illumination every 30 feet, creating a strobing effect as Liam moved through darkness and light. Rex ran ahead, his black and tan coat disappearing into shadows before reappearing in the next pool of light. The other dogs spread out in a coordinated search pattern, their handlers struggling to keep up in the confined space. Then Rex stopped dead, his body going rigid. Footsteps. Running. Multiple sets. Coming from the tunnel intersection ahead. Contact. Liam shouted, his hand moving to his weapon. Show yourself. Police. The response was a metallic clatter, something thrown around the corner. A canister bounced across the concrete floor, already spewing thick gray smoke. Gas. Officer Chen yelled, her Malinois immediately backing away from the spreading cloud. Not tear gas, that would have had the dogs retreating in pain. This was just smoke, meant to obscure vision, to create chaos. The kind of tactical diversion used by people who'd done this before. The dogs didn't need vision. They had scent. Rex plunged into the smoke without hesitation, and Liam followed, his hand on the dog's vest, letting his partner guide him through the choking gray fog. He could hear movement ahead, boots on concrete, heavy breathing, the rustle of tactical gear. They burst through the other side of the smoke cloud into a wider corridor, and Liam's flashlight caught movement. Two figures in black tactical gear sprinting toward a ladder that led up to what looked like a platform access hatch. Stop! Police! Don't move! They didn't stop. One of them turned, something gleaming in his hand. Rex launched himself like a missile. 70 pounds of trained aggression hit the figure mid-torso, driving him into the concrete wall with an impact that Liam heard even over the barking. The weapon, a pistol, went skittering across the floor. The second figure reached the ladder and started climbing, but Chen's Malinois was faster. The dog leaped, jaws closing around the man's boot, and pulled. The climber lost his grip and came crashing down, hitting the ground hard enough to drive the air from his lungs. On the ground. Hands where I can see them. More officers poured into the corridor, flashlights cutting through the dissipating smoke. The two suspects were subdued, cuffed, their balaclavas ripped away to reveal faces that Liam didn't recognize. Hard faces, military bearing, the kind of men who did this kind of work for a living. But Rex wasn't calming down. The dog stood over his suspect, barking frantically at the ladder the second man had been climbing. There's more, Liam realized. They were just the rear guard. The main team already went up. He keyed his radio. Morrison. Hostiles have accessed platform level through maintenance hatches. Unknown number. They're trying to flank our position and... Above them, from somewhere in the station proper, came the sound of gunfire. Short, controlled bursts. Then screaming. All units, shots fired near the ticket counter. Hostiles engaging protection detail. Liam's blood turned to ice. Rachel and Chloe. They were going for Rachel and Chloe. He ran for the ladder, taking rungs two at a time, Rex scrambling up behind him with the determined clumsiness of a dog climbing something dogs weren't built to climb. The hatch at the top opened into a storage room behind one of the platform's coffee kiosks. Liam burst through the door and into chaos. 3 more masked operatives were moving through the platform area in tactical formation, suppressing fire, keeping officers pinned behind cover while one of them advanced toward the ticket counter where Jackson and Rodriguez were desperately trying to hold position. But they were outgunned and outmaneuvered, and the attackers were moving with the precision of special forces, leapfrogging advances, covering fire, communication through hand signals. They were going to breach the counter. They were going to get to Chloe. Then something unexpected happened. From Chloe's hiding spot behind the ticket counter, a faint blue light began to pulse. The transmitter, still in Mr. Button's despite being partially removed, had activated again, its signal suddenly amplifying, and in the relative quiet between gunfire exchanges, Liam heard it. Beep, beep, beep. Every K-9 in the station heard it too. The dogs came from everywhere at once. From the platforms, from the corridors, from the tunnels below. 21 police dogs converging on the ticket counter, but not to surround Chloe this time. To protect her from the very real, very visible threat closing in. The lead attacker had just reached the counter's edge, his weapon trained on Jackson's position, when Rex hit him from the side with the force of a freight train. The man went down hard, his weapon flying. He tried to roll, to bring his hands up in defense, but Rex was relentless. Teeth finding purchase on the tactical vest, shaking, dragging, giving the man no opportunity to recover. The other 2 attackers spun to engage the new threat, but Officer Rodriguez's dog was already airborne, and Chen's Malinois came in low, going for legs, disrupting balance, creating chaos that their handlers could exploit. Federal agents, drop your weapons. The cavalry had arrived. FBI tactical teams in full gear stormed the platform from 3 directions. Red laser sights painting the attackers with dozens of targeting dots. Homeland Security. ATF. More local police than Liam could count. The fight was over in seconds. The attackers went down hard, forced to the ground by overwhelming force and 21 very angry dogs who weren't about to let anyone threaten their charge. Liam rushed to the ticket counter, finding Chloe curled in Rachel's arms, both of them shaking but unhurt. Mr. Buttons lay on the floor beside them, still pulsing with that eerie blue light. "It's over," Liam gasped, his heart hammering. "You're safe. They're contained." But even as he said it, even as federal agents secured the suspects and medics rushed in to check for injuries, Liam felt the weight of unfinished business pressing down on him. This was too coordinated, too professional. These weren't random criminals. They were trained operatives executing a military precision assault on a civilian target. Who had sent them? How deep did this conspiracy go? As if in answer to his unspoken questions, one of the captured suspects, the one Rex had taken down in the tunnel, was being walked past in flex cuffs when he suddenly stopped. His eyes found Liam's, then shifted to Chloe, still visible behind the ticket counter. The man's lips curved into something that might have been a smile if it hadn't been so cold. "This was only phase 1, he said, his voice carrying clearly in the momentary quiet. "You think you've won? You've only delayed the inevitable. You can't protect her forever. We know what she carries. We know what her father taught her. And we will get it." An agent shoved him forward, but the suspect called back over his shoulder, his words echoing through the station. "The shutdown is already in motion. 26 hours until cascade failure. You're too late to stop it." Then he was gone, dragged away by federal agents, but his words hung in the air like poison. Liam looked at Chloe, at the little girl who'd somehow become the linchpin in a conspiracy that apparently reached far beyond one compromised train station. What had Thomas Bennett taught his daughter? And what the hell was going to happen in 26 hours? The FBI established a mobile command center in the station's executive conference room within 30 minutes of securing the suspects. The space transformed into a hub of controlled chaos, laptops displaying cascading data streams, agents speaking in rapid code over encrypted channels, and at the center of it all, a tiny circuit board no bigger than a quarter that somehow held the key to preventing a catastrophe. Liam stood against the back wall, Rex at his feet, watching as a team of cyber forensic specialists worked over the transmitter extracted from Mr. Buttons. Chloe and Rachel sat on a leather couch nearby, wrapped in emergency blankets despite the room being warm, both still processing the trauma of the last 2 hours. The lead cyber agent, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who'd introduced herself as Special Agent Karen Voss, finally looked up from her laptop. Her expression was grave. "Commander Morrison, Officer Garrett. You need to see this." Liam moved closer, Rex padding silently beside him. Morrison joined them, his face drawn with exhaustion and tension. Voss turned her laptop so they could see the screen. Lines of code scrolled past, interspersed with file directories and what looked like network architecture diagrams. "This chip is extraordinary," Voss said quietly. "Thomas Bennett didn't just document a security breach. He built an entire forensic case. Access logs, encryption keys, command protocols, server locations. Everything you'd need to prove systematic infiltration of the national rail infrastructure." She clicked through several files, each one more damning than the last. "This isn't just about Union Central Station. The data siphon we found under Track 6? It's one of 47 identical devices planted throughout the rail network over the past 8 months. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Seattle. Every major hub has been compromised. Someone has been building a backdoor into the entire system." Morrison's jaw tightened. To what end? Control. Voss pulled up a schematic that showed the interconnected rail network like a spider's web spanning the continent. Modern trains are completely computerized. Route planning, speed regulation, track switching, collision avoidance. It's all controlled by centralized systems. If you can access those systems, feed them false data, Override safety protocols. She paused. You could cause simultaneous accidents across multiple states. Derailments. Collisions. Chemical spills from cargo trains. The death toll could reach tens of thousands within hours. The room fell silent except for the hum of electronics and the soft clicking of keyboards. Jesus Christ, Morrison breathed. Thomas Bennett discovered the infiltration about 6 weeks ago while running routine security audits, Voss continued. According to his documentation, he tried to report through proper channels, but his concerns were dismissed. That's when he realized the conspiracy went higher than station-level security. Someone with authority had either enabled the breach or was actively covering it up. Rachel's voice came from the couch, thin and shaking. He came to my apartment that night. The night before he disappeared. He was terrified. Kept checking the windows, wouldn't use his phone. He said. Her voice cracked. He said if he went public, they'd kill him. But if he did nothing, thousands of people would die. He felt trapped. Liam crossed to where Rachel and Chloe sat. The little girl had finally stopped crying, but her eyes were red and swollen, her face pale with exhaustion. She still clutched Mr. Buttons, even though the toy was now empty of its hidden technology, just worn fabric and stuffing. So he hid the evidence where no one would think to look, Liam said softly. In his daughter's childhood toy. Sent her to a specific location with specific instructions, counting on K9 units to detect the active transmitter before anyone else. He was brilliant, Voss said, a note of admiration in her professional tone. He knew the conspirators would have access to surveillance systems, facial recognition, digital tracking, every technological advantage. But dogs can't be hacked. Their instincts can't be compromised. He trusted animal intuition over any human system. Rachel pulled Chloe closer. He told me that if anything happened to him, I should trust the dogs first. Trust them more than badges or credentials or official-looking documents. He said the dogs would know the difference between real help and people pretending to help. Chloe stirred in her aunt's arms, her small voice barely audible. Daddy said bad people are really good at pretending to be good. But dogs can smell the difference. They can smell when someone's scared or lying or bad inside. She pulled away from Rachel slightly and began working her small fingers into the torn seam of Mr. Buttons where the transmitter had been removed. Daddy put something else in here. Something just for me. He said if I ever had to give Mr. Buttons to the good helpers, I should keep the special note. So I'd remember he loved me. Everyone in the room watched as Chloe's fingers found purchase on something inside the stuffing. She pulled carefully, extracting a tiny piece of paper that had been folded into a square no bigger than a postage stamp. With trembling hands, she unfolded it. The handwriting was cramped but legible, written in pencil on what looked like it had once been part of a receipt. Liam leaned in to read it over Chloe's shoulder. My brave girl. If you're reading this, then you followed the plan perfectly. I'm so proud of you. If anything happens to me, trust the dogs first. Not computers. Not badges. The dogs. They know who's real. Everything bad that's happening isn't your fault. You're the hero, not the victim. Tell the helpers. Cascade Protocol, 26 hours, Sunday 3 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. That's when they'll activate. That's when thousands of people will die unless someone stops it. I love you more than all the trains in all the stations in all the world. Daddy. Chloe's composure finally shattered. She collapsed against Rachel, sobbing with the kind of grief that only a child who's lost a parent can express. Raw and complete and utterly heartbreaking. Rachel held her, tears streaming down her own face. He didn't abandon you, baby. He was trying to save everyone, including you. Voss was already typing furiously on her laptop. Cascade Protocol. Sunday, 3 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. That's. She glanced at her watch. That's 19 hours from now. He was right, that suspect's timeline was accurate. What's the Cascade Protocol? Morrison demanded. Based on what I'm seeing in Bennett's files, it's the activation sequence for all 47 data siphons simultaneously. Once triggered, They'll begin feeding false data into the rail network's control systems. Trains will be rerouted onto collision courses. Safety systems will fail at critical moments. High-speed passenger trains carrying thousands of people will. She stopped, her face pale. It'll be the deadliest coordinated attack in American history. And it'll look like a systems failure. No one will know it was deliberate until it's too late to stop it. The room erupted into controlled chaos as agents began making calls, pulling up schematics, coordinating with other agencies. But Liam's attention stayed on Chloe, on the 7-year-old girl who'd been carrying the weight of national security on her small shoulders without even knowing it. Rex moved closer to the couch, his head lowering to rest on Chloe's knee. The girl's hand automatically went to his fur, her fingers tangling in the soft coat, and for just a moment, her crying quieted. "He saved us," she whispered, looking at Rex. "Daddy said the dogs would save us." And they did. Morrison's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his expression darkened further. "It's already breaking. Media has the story." He turned his phone so others could see. Every news app was flashing breaking news alerts. CNN, massive cyber attack on rail network thwarted by K-9 unit. Fox News, federal agents stop conspiracy to compromise national transportation. BBC, U.S. train stations under cyber siege. Heroic police dogs save the day. Within minutes, Liam's own phone began buzzing with notifications. Social media was exploding. The live stream videos from bystanders had already accumulated millions of views. Photos of Rex and the other K9s surrounding Chloe were being shared across every platform. The story was out. The conspiracy was exposed. But 19 hours remained until the Cascade Protocol activated. And somewhere out there, the people who'd planned this attack were watching, recalculating, preparing their next move. Agent Voss stood, her laptop clutched under her arm. "We need to get this girl and her aunt into federal protection immediately. They're the only living links to Thomas Bennett and his investigation. If the conspirators want to bury this, they'll." Her words were cut off by a new alert flashing across every computer screen in the room simultaneously. A video feed. Black screen. White text appearing letter by letter. "You stopped Phase 1. Phase 2 begins now. 19 hours until Cascade. Thomas Bennett could have stopped it. But Thomas Bennett is dead." The screen went dark. Rachel's scream echoed through the conference room as Chloe collapsed in her arms, the tiny note from her father still clutched in her small fist. The hours that followed blurred together in a cascade of activity that felt both urgent and surreal. Federal agents swept Chloe and Rachel into protective custody, whisking them to an undisclosed location while cyber teams worked frantically to trace the video message's origin and identify every server node connected to the Cascade Protocol. Liam found himself caught in a different kind of chaos, the media storm. Within 6 hours of the incident, Union Central Station had transformed from a crime scene into a symbol of hope. News vans lined every street within 3 blocks. Reporters jockeyed for position behind police barriers. Satellite trucks raised their antennas toward a sky that had darkened into evening, their lights casting the station in an artificial daylight glow. The story had captured the world's attention in a way few events could. It had everything: conspiracy, heroism, innocence in danger, and most importantly, dogs. 21 police dogs who defied their training to protect a little girl, who'd sensed danger before any technology could detect it, who'd proven that sometimes the oldest instincts were more reliable than the newest innovations. Social media had exploded. Hashtag K9 Heroes was trending worldwide. Artists were already creating portraits of Rex surrounded by the other dogs. Children were dressing up as police officers with stuffed German shepherds. A GoFundMe for K9 units across the country had raised over $2 million in less than 4 hours. The public needed heroes. And they'd found them. 3 days later, the government made it official. The ceremony was held in Union Central's main concourse, on the same marble floor where everything had begun. Workers had cleaned away all evidence of the violence. The shattered glass replaced, bullet holes patched, blood scrubbed away. Now the space gleamed under temporary lighting rigs installed by news networks who'd been granted exclusive access. Liam stood in formation with his K9 unit, 21 dogs sitting at attention beside their handlers, their coats brushed to perfection, their eyes alert but calm. Rex sat at Liam's left, a position of honor, wearing a new collar with a medal already attached, the Department of Homeland Security's Award for Valor, the highest honor a service animal could receive. The Secretary of Homeland Security himself had flown in for the ceremony, along with the Director of the FBI, the Mayor, the Governor, and what seemed like every ranking official who could claim even tangential connection to law enforcement or transportation security. But Liam's attention kept drifting to the front row of folding chairs that had been set up for honored guests. Chloe sat between Rachel and a child psychologist assigned by Federal Protective Services. The little girl wore a new pink dress that Rachel had bought for the occasion, her blonde hair brushed and held back with a clip. She looked small and fragile under the lights and cameras, but there was something different in her eyes now, a strength that hadn't been there before. The kind of strength that came from surviving something that should have broken you. Mr. Buttons sat in her lap, professionally restored by the FBI's evidence team. The toy had been cleaned, restuffed, and carefully stitched back together. It looked almost new, except for the missing button eye that Chloe had insisted they leave as it was. Some scars are important to remember, she'd told the psychologist. Daddy would want me to remember. The ceremony began with speeches. Long, formal addresses about duty and courage and the importance of interagency cooperation. Liam barely heard them. His focus was on Rex, on the subtle ways his partner was tracking movement in the crowd, still working even while being honored, still protecting. Then the secretary stepped to the microphone, his voice carrying through the station. Today we honor 21 heroes who exemplify the very best of service and sacrifice. These K-9 officers demonstrated extraordinary courage and instinct in the face of a threat that could have resulted in the greatest loss of civilian life in our nation's history. He began calling names. Each dog and handler pair stepped forward to receive their medals while cameras flashed and the assembled crowd applauded. Officer Chen and her Malinois, Officer Rodriguez and his shepherd, Jackson, Hayes, all the others who'd been there that day. Finally, Officer Liam Garrett and K-9 Rex. Liam walked forward, Rex at his side, their steps synchronized after years of partnership. The secretary bent to attach the medal to Rex's collar, then straightened to shake Liam's hand. Your dog saved lives, he said quietly, meant only for Liam's ears. The cyber team confirmed it. The conspirators were within minutes of accessing Chloe Bennett directly when Rex's initial alert triggered the lockdown. Without that early warning, we wouldn't have stopped them in time. Liam looked down at Rex, at the dog who'd ignored every command to do what he knew was right. He knew before I did, sir. He always does. After the medals came the formal recognition of Chloe herself, a certificate of civilian courage, a college scholarship fund established in her father's name, and a promise from the governor that she would receive continued protection and support for as long as she needed it. When they brought her to the microphone, the crowd went silent. Chloe looked tiny standing at the podium, even with the microphone lowered to her height. Her fingers twisted the edge of her dress nervously, and for a long moment she didn't speak. Then Rachel moved to stand beside her, one hand on her niece's shoulder, and Chloe found her voice. My daddy always said that heroes don't need capes or powers. Sometimes they just need to pay attention to what everyone else ignores. Her voice was soft but clear, carried through the station by the microphone. The dogs paid attention. They listened to what no one else could hear. They protected me when I was really scared. She paused, looking out at the crowd, then at the line of K-9s standing at attention. Everyone keeps asking me what I want. What would make me feel better? And I know what it is. The secretary leaned toward his microphone. Anything we can provide, young lady, you have only to ask. Chloe's eyes found Rex, and something in her expression softened. The first real smile Liam had seen from her since that terrible morning. I want to see Rex every week. And the other dogs too, if that's okay. I want to visit them and help take care of them. Because... Her voice wavered, but she pushed through. Because they saved my life. And I think Daddy would want me to say thank you. Every week. For as long as they'll let me. The crowd erupted in applause. Reporters scribbled notes. Cameras focused tight on Chloe's face, capturing the moment for the evening news for history. Liam felt his throat tighten. He looked at Rex, who was staring at Chloe with that same intense focus he'd shown from the very beginning. Trust the dogs first. Thomas Bennett had been right about everything. Officer Garrett. The secretary's voice pulled him back. I believe the young lady is waiting for your response. Liam walked to the microphone, Rex beside him. He crouched down so he was at Chloe's eye level, and Rex immediately moved to her, his nose nudging her hand in the gentle way he had with children. Every single week, Liam promised. For as long as you want. Rex would be honored. Chloe dropped to her knees and wrapped her arms around Rex's neck, burying her face in his fur. The dog stood perfectly still, patient and protective, while the cameras captured the image that would dominate front pages across the country the next morning. The ceremony concluded with more applause, more speeches about the partnership between humans and animals, about instinct and technology working together rather than in opposition. But as the crowd began to disperse and handlers led their dogs away, Liam's phone buzzed in his pocket. A text message. Unknown number. He almost deleted it. Probably another reporter trying to get an exclusive interview. But something made him open it. We found one chip. How many more did he hide? Liam's blood ran cold. He looked around the crowded station, suddenly aware of how many faces were present, how many of them he didn't recognize. The text had come from someone who knew details about the investigation that hadn't been made public. Someone on the inside. Before he could respond, a second message appeared. More than you think. Then a third, this one just an image file. Liam opened it with trembling fingers. It was a photograph, clearly taken years ago based on the quality and Chloe's appearance. She couldn't have been older than 4. She sat on Thomas Bennett's lap, both of them smiling at the camera. But it wasn't the people that made Liam's stomach drop. It was what surrounded them. Stuffed animals. At least a dozen different toys arranged on shelves behind them. A teddy bear. A stuffed elephant. A rabbit that looked similar to Mr. Buttons but wasn't quite the same. A dog. A cat. Each one could be hiding another chip. Another piece of evidence. Another breadcrumb in whatever trail Thomas Bennett had left before he disappeared. Or died. The message that followed was brief but chilling. Bennett spent 6 weeks preparing. He was thorough. The girl doesn't know what else she's carrying or where it's hidden. But they do. And they're coming for all of it. Watch her carefully, Officer Garrett. Phase 2 is just beginning. The message thread disappeared, deleted remotely before Liam could screenshot it. He looked across the concourse to where Chloe was being led away by protective services, Rachel's arm around her shoulders, federal agents flanking them. How many toys had been in that photograph? How many could Thomas Bennett have modified in 6 weeks? And if the conspirators knew about them? Liam's hand found Rex's head, fingers tangling in the familiar fur. They'd won a battle. But the war was far from over. And somewhere out there, hidden in stuffed animals and childhood memories, the evidence that could bring down an entire conspiracy was scattered like pieces of a puzzle that only a dead man and a 7-year-old girl could solve. 2 weeks after the ceremony, on a crisp Saturday morning when autumn was beginning to paint the trees in shades of gold and crimson, Chloe Bennett walked through the doors of the Metropolitan Canine Training Facility for the first time. Rachel held her hand, their federal protection detail maintaining a discreet distance. Close enough to respond to threats, far enough to let the little girl feel something approximating normal. The media had been kept away this time. No cameras, no reporters, no crowds. Just a 7-year-old girl keeping a promise to visit the dogs who'd saved her life. Liam met them in the lobby, Rex at his side. The moment the German Shepherd saw Chloe, his tail began wagging, a rare display of emotion from a dog trained to maintain professional composure. "Hey, Rex," Chloe said softly, dropping to her knees on the polished floor. The dog moved to her immediately, his nose nudging her cheek in gentle greeting. Chloe wrapped her arms around his neck, and for a long moment, they stayed like that, girl and dog, connected by shared trauma and the unspoken understanding that sometimes the most important conversations happen without words. "He's been waiting for you," Liam said quietly. Every Saturday morning this week, he sat by the front door at exactly this time. Dogs have a sense about these things. Chloe pulled back to look into Rex's amber eyes. Her own eyes were still sad. The grief of losing her father was too fresh, too deep to have healed in just 2 weeks. But there was something else there now too. Resilience. The beginning of hope. "Can I see the others?" she asked. "The other dogs who were there? That's exactly why we're here." Liam led them through the facility, a sprawling complex of training yards, kennels, and administrative buildings where K9 units from across the region came for advanced instruction. Word had spread about Chloe's visit, and handlers had brought their dogs in on their day off, wanting to be part of this moment. They gathered in the main training yard, 21 dogs sitting in formation with their handlers standing behind them. It was the same configuration from that morning at Union Central Station, except now there was no danger, no chaos, no fear. Just dogs doing what they'd been born to do. Being present, being loyal, being the kind of pure-hearted protectors that humans could only aspire to become. Chloe walked down the line slowly, Rachel beside her, stopping to greet each dog individually. She whispered thank yous that the humans couldn't hear but the dogs seemed to understand. Tails wagged. Noses pressed against her small hands. A Malinois licked her cheek, making her giggle. The first genuine laugh anyone had heard from her since the attack. Officer Chen crouched beside her. "His name is Titan. He's the one who helped stop the bad guys in the tunnel. He's very brave, but he's also very gentle with children." Chloe stroked Titan's head, her fingers working through his short coat. "Thank you for being brave," she told him seriously. "Thank you for helping Rex protect me." By the time she reached the end of the line, Chloe's eyes were wet with tears, but she was smiling. Rachel pulled her close, her own face reflecting the complex mix of grief and gratitude that had become their constant companion. "There's something else," Liam said, gesturing toward a bench under a large oak tree at the edge of the yard. "If you're up for it." They walked over, and Chloe's eyes went wide. Arranged on the bench were stuffed animals. A dozen of them, each one wearing a small badge and a ribbon that matched the medals the K9s had received. "The FBI returned these from your father's house," Liam explained gently. "They've all been thoroughly examined. No more hidden devices, no more chips. Just toys. The way they were meant to be." Chloe's hand flew to her mouth. There was the teddy bear from the photograph. The elephant. The rabbit that looked like Mr. Buttons's twin. The dog, the cat, all of them there, all waiting. "Daddy kept them," she whispered. "After I got too old for them, he kept them in the attic. I thought he threw them away." "He saved them," Rachel said, her voice thick with emotion. "Because that's what your daddy did. He saved things. He protected things. Even stuffed animals that his daughter might need someday." Chloe picked up the teddy bear, hugging it to her chest. Then she looked at the dogs, at Rex standing closest to her, ever watchful, ever protective. "My daddy was right about you," she said, addressing Rex but meaning all of them. "He said you'd know first. That you'd understand what people couldn't see. And you did." She knelt down again, and Rex moved to her, lowering his head to rest in her lap in a gesture of such gentle trust that several handlers had to look away, blinking hard. Chloe leaned close to Rex's ear, her voice dropping to a whisper that only the dog could hear. "You knew before everyone. You knew I was in danger before the grown-ups did. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for being smarter than all the computers and all the bad people. Thank you for just knowing." Rex's tail thumped once against the ground. His eyes, amber and ancient with the wisdom of thousands of years of partnership between humans and dogs, looked into hers with perfect understanding. Behind the fence line, hidden from view but capturing every moment, a small camera crew from the FBI's Public Relations Division recorded the scene. Not for immediate release, but for history. For the archive of moments that reminded people why some partnerships transcended training and technology and protocol. For proof that sometimes, the most sophisticated detection system in the world was a dog's heart. The visit lasted 2 hours. Chloe played with the dogs in the training yard, threw tennis balls that they retrieved with joyous enthusiasm, and sat in the grass with Rex's head in her lap while Rachel and Liam talked quietly about the ongoing investigation. The cyber team had successfully prevented the Cascade protocol activation. Working around the clock, they'd identified and disabled all 47 data siphons, traced the conspiracy to a foreign intelligence operation working with domestic collaborators, and made 17 additional arrests. But Thomas Bennett's body had never been found. The official status was missing, presumed dead, though neither Liam nor Rachel had the heart to say those words to Chloe yet. Let her have hope a little longer. Let her believe her father might still walk through a door somewhere, alive and ready to explain everything. As the sun climbed higher and the morning grew warm, Rachel checked her watch. "We should go, sweetie. We have that appointment with Dr. Morrison at noon." The therapist. Another part of Chloe's new reality. Weekly sessions to process trauma, to build coping mechanisms, to help a 7-year-old make sense of a world that had revealed itself to be far more dangerous than she'd ever imagined. Chloe stood reluctantly, still holding the teddy bear in one hand and Mr. Buttons in the other. "Can I really come back next week?" "Every week," Liam confirmed. "For as long as you want. Rex will be waiting." They walked toward the parking lot, federal agents falling into formation around them. A protection detail that would follow Chloe until the trial concluded and all threats had been neutralized. Maybe longer. But as they reached the gate, Rachel's hand secure in Chloe's, Mr. Buttons clutched against her chest with his missing button eye and carefully stitched seam. Something changed in the air. A sound, distant and familiar. The horn of a freight train passing on the tracks that ran behind the facility. Chloe stopped walking. Her head turned toward the sound, and for just a moment, her expression was unreadable. A little girl listening to the very thing her father had spent his last weeks trying to protect. The train system. The infrastructure that connected a nation. The technology that could save lives or end them depending on who controlled it. Behind them, Rex barked once. Sharp. Alert. Liam's hand instinctively moved to the dog's vest, but Rex wasn't signaling danger. He was just watching. His gaze followed Chloe as she resumed walking, his body language protective but calm. Still working. Still guarding. Still listening to threats that humans couldn't hear, prepared to act on instincts that no technology could replicate. "Sometimes," Liam said quietly to the cameraman who was packing up his equipment, "the safest place isn't behind walls or security systems or federal protection details." The cameraman looked at him questioningly. Liam watched as Chloe climbed into the car, Rachel helping her with the seatbelt, the little girl already looking back toward the training facility where Rex stood at attention. "Sometimes," Liam continued, "the safest place is beside a protector who listens to dangers humans cannot hear, who trusts instinct over programming, who knows that the most important data can't be measured in bytes or encrypted in code. It's measured in loyalty, in courage, in the willingness to break every rule when breaking rules is the right thing to do." The car pulled away, federal vehicles following close behind. But through the back window, Chloe's face was visible, turned toward the facility, toward the dogs who'd saved her life. Rex watched until the car disappeared from sight. Then, only then, did he relax his stance, his tail wagging once as he looked up at Liam. "Good boy," Liam murmured, scratching behind his partner's ears. "You did good, Rex. You did real good." The train horn sounded again, fading into the distance, carrying with it the echo of everything that had happened and everything that might still come. The investigation would continue. The trial would be long and complex. And somewhere, hidden in the memory of a 7-year-old girl and scattered across a dozen stuffed animals, evidence remained that might yet expose the full depth of the conspiracy. But for now, on this Saturday morning with autumn painting the world in gold, a little girl had visited the heroes who'd saved her life. And a promise had been kept. Every week. For as long as she needed. Because that's what heroes did. They showed up. They stayed alert. They protected the innocent. And sometimes they had 4 legs, a cold nose, and a heart big enough to sense danger before it arrived and love strong enough to face it without hesitation. Rex barked once more, a sound that carried across the training yard, a reminder that somewhere in the world there were still good guys. Still protectors. Still those who would stand between the innocent and the darkness, asking nothing in return except perhaps a scratch behind the ears and the knowledge that they'd done their job well. The world kept turning. Trains kept running. And in a training facility outside the city, 21 dogs lay down in the autumn sun, their work complete for today but never truly finished. Because there would always be another threat, another person who needed protecting, another moment when instinct mattered more than intelligence, and loyalty meant more than any protocol ever could. And they would be ready. They were always ready. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next. Click on the image or video showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.